We can all understand to a point what a psychopath is, so I'm not going to give a one-sentence, rigid definition. Psychopathy is an interesting subject for the reason that this condition can occur in humans. Consciousness is the key here, because animals do not exhibit such a mental trait. When an animal does something aggressive or extreme, we deem it to be caused by instincts. When a human disregards the dignity and life of another, it becomes a complex problem. We are not merely driven by impulses, although we are, at the end of the day, still creatures of flesh.
Hey, listen!
To make the argument of consciousness more clear, I will give you the example of deciding to not eat when the sun is out, as is done on Ramadan to achieve a higher goal. If a plate of food is in front of me, I will not eat it in this case, even if I'm starving. It is not instinctual, because a ravenous animal would do the opposite in that example. There is no religion or moral code which other creatures, except humans, live by. So let's look at some instances in popular culture and understand psychopathy better through them. Arthur Fleck, the Joker. Arthur Fleck was pushed around and outcasted all his life. Ironically, he works as a clown. Such a figure has always been dangerous to a degree. In literature, the clown or jester was the one to point out truth through comedy. In psychology, this archetype, which is more specifically called the fool, is a precursor to the individuation or the hero. The fool causes chaos and brings about disruptiveness in the world. Unfortunately, the Joker character in any piece of media stays at the threshold before transforming into a whole and functional person. That is bad, of course, because humans are built to cooperate. That's why exile is a harsh form of punishment. That's also why this form of mental disruption, one might call it psychopathy, is perceived as extreme and dangerous. In the last scene of the movie, the jester is at his height of power, where the whole society is worshipping him. The Joker dances in a sign of enjoyment. In this film, and maybe in most versions of all DC comics, he is the psychological archetype of destruction and temptation towards chaos. Notice, however, how people cheer him on. If that was not the case, then the jester archetype would be a very minor and insignificant one. So there is affinity towards it, displayed by the modern human, who has partially lost his sense of individualism in this fully packed world. And because they hate the world, they want to destroy it, as does the fool figure, or in this case, the Joker. They are two forces fueling each other. Johann Liebert, Monster. Monster's main antagonist, Johann Liebert, is a man that was experimented with amongst other children in an orphanage. This peculiar occurrence was actually a reality in the German Democratic Republic after the Second World War. The children were kept in an isolation, mistreated and indoctrinated into the political communist philosophy. After his childhood, Johann Liebert, whose real name we actually don't know, wanders with his twin sister between country borders in search of some place better. These children are traumatized. Whereas the sister suppresses her memories, the brother wishes for revenge and chaos. Johann is the typical charismatic psychopath whom you can easily trust on first glance. Johann's goal is to return the hell upon the world that he once tasted. He is presented as a nameless monster. He is nobody and possessed by the powers of evil, one might say. No responsibility can be accounted to him because he is not one concrete person, and maybe even that's his goal, as to escape the individual that lived in that orphanage back then. In this scene, Johann Liebert looks closely into the eyes of the rich Mr. Schuwald to let him peek into his dark soul. It is the same as when someone all of a sudden starts to tell you all the gruesome experiences of his life in detail, to the point of filling you up with dread and hopelessness. That feeling is presented to Schuwald in an intensified form, probably similar to what one might experience if talking face to face to a very traumatized person that hasn't been able to resolve that pain. Joker, the killing joke. This Joker is also a product of his circumstances. Though he's focused on an individual, more philosophical level of torture, he's the product of the modern world and its stress factors. During the peak of the Industrial Revolution and the emerging modern time, a bunch of literature and art came up as to depict the distress people were living in. It was cramped in the city, polluted and disease-ridden. One of the art's direction was the aesthetic of the ugliness. Well, Joker has lived in no other world. Generally, in nature, overpopulated spaces lead to drastic unhappiness in individuals. Human beings are the only ones to crowd up, feel miserable, and stay in that ball of flesh. Joker claims that the world is built that way, and anyone can break given a little push. He is similar in that aspect to Johann Liebert. The chemicals he fell in at Ace Chemicals changed his mind enough to be insane. He has no concrete memories, which in his estimation is good, although it saps his identity. Again, a nameless monster, similar to Johann Liebert. The question of how to deal with such people is embodied in Batman and Commissioner Gordon. They both have lived through horrible times and stick to their principles of justice without killing. They don't see it for right or necessary to get the world rid of someone as crazy as Joker. Batman actually wants to help Joker, although being practically insane himself. Well, at the end of the comic, Joker tells the joke of two insane asylum inmates running away. They need to jump a gap during the night. The first makes it. However, the second is afraid of falling and hesitates. The first then suggests to shine a beam with a flashlight, and then the second can walk on the beam across the gap. The second then remarks, "You think I'm crazy? You just switch it off when I'm halfway across." In many ways, it is analogical to both Batman and Joker's insanity, and Joker's own fear of trying to escape his status quo that he is in, which is the only way of him remaining alive and well, which paradoxically is insanity. It's a coping mechanism, coupled with disbelief in the meaning of the world and disregard for human life. At the end of the day, he might be a psychopath, but a complex human nonetheless. And Batman appreciates the joke by laughing along. It is a fitting ending to two psychos trying to battle each other, one with the claim of being just, the other of being cruel, yet both acknowledge their lack of full mental stability. Thank you for watching. You wanna hear some more interesting topics on human beings? Then you can check out my channel if you'd like. Have a nice day now. Bye bye.